Once upon a time, Venezuela was called the oil paradise, one of the richest nations on earth, a beautiful country on the Caribbean coast, home to the largest oil reserves in the world, strong currency, streets filled with modern American cars, and citizens living a life of luxury unmatched in Latin America. But today, that same country faces a humanitarian and economic catastrophe that forced millions to flee across borders in search of food and survival. What happened? How did a country so rich collapse so fast? The beginning. The discovery of black gold. The story began in 1914, when oil was discovered in the Mene Grande field. Soon after, American and British companies rushed in to exploit the wells. Money started to pour in, and Venezuela quickly became South America's top oil exporter. By 1976, the government nationalized the oil industry, earning billions in revenue. At that time, Caracas was one of the most beautiful cities on the continent. People traveled to Europe for vacations. Education was free. And healthcare was universal. The Venezuelan bolivar was stronger than the US dollar. But beneath this wealth was a fatal flaw, an economy completely dependent on oil. No industry. No agriculture. No diversification. The oil curse emerges in the 1970s, when oil prices soared due to the Arab-Israeli War of 1973. Venezuela entered its golden boom. The government spent lavishly high salaries, massive loans, and luxury projects. But when oil prices crashed in the 1980s, everything fell apart. Debt exploded, unemployment rose, and poverty spread. In 1989, huge protests known as El Caracazo erupted in Caracas after fuel prices skyrocketed. Hundreds were killed by government forces. The rise of Hugo Chavez. Amid this chaos emerged a young army officer, Hugo Chavez. In 1992, he led a failed coup attempt and was imprisoned. But his anti-corruption and anti-poverty rhetoric made him a national hero. After his release, Chavez won the Jobar elections, promising a socialist revolution that would return wealth to the people. He nationalized industries, pushed out US influence, and preached social justice and wealth equality. At first, it seemed to work. Oil prices were skyrocketing again, and money poured into the country. Wages rose, and poverty declined. But Chavez repeated the same old mistake: total dependence on oil. From prosperity to collapse after Chavez's death in Hyperinflation, Nicolas Maduro took power. Just a year later, oil prices plummeted from $100 to under $30, and so began Venezuela's great collapse. The government started printing money to cover its deficits, triggering hyperinflation that reached 1,700,000% in 2018. A loaf of bread that once cost bolivars now cost hundreds of millions. People carried bags of cash instead of wallets. Hunger spread even among soldiers and police. Hospitals shut down. Schools closed. Corruption infected every institution. Venezuela, once among the richest nations, became one of the poorest and most dangerous countries on earth. Sanctions and political chaos. As the crisis deepened, the United States imposed sanctions on Maduro's regime, accusing him of election fraud and brutal repression of the opposition. In 2019, opposition leader Juan Guaido declared himself interim president, recognized by over 50 countries, including the US, Canada, and several European nations. But the military stayed loyal to Maduro, and the political standoff continues today. The result: over 7 million Venezuelans have fled the country. The bolivar lost 99.999% of its value. A nation with the largest oil reserves on the planet can't even produce enough gasoline for its own people. The tragic end Venezuela's story isn't just one of economic failure, it's a warning to the entire world. A warning against corruption, mismanagement, and dependence on a single resource. Venezuela fell because its wealth became a curse, A country once called heaven on earth, who is now a symbol of economic hell in the 21st century. The lesson wealth alone doesn't create prosperity, vision, management, and justice do. Venezuela proved that oil can make a nation rich or destroy it forever.